Hello, my name is Austin Tassone, and for my propaganda film analysis video, I chose the theme public servants. For my propaganda film, I chose the Netflix documentary called Athlete A. This documentary demonstrates the sexual abuse that uh, women athletes in the gymnastics community went through with Dr. Larry Nassar, as well as other head coaches in the USA Gymnastics realm. Um, Investigators at IndyStar started investigating Larry Nassar after a few women decided to speak up. Um, this documentary showcases the toxic culture inside the USA Gymnastics world and the wrongdoings of the women's gymnastics doctors and coaches. Um, the IndyStar investigators realized that there were 54 coaches that had sexual allegations towards them in the USA Gymnastics community, but all of these were closed cases and reported as hearsay because there was no signature from the victim or the victim's parents. So that just showcases how easy it is for big corporations to cover these allegations up. Um, this led to these coaches believing that they could get away with the sexual abuse and continue to molest children in the gymnastics world. Larry Nassar had been the USA Gymnastics coach for 29 years. So that's like an extremely long amount of time. And he abused hundreds of women. The theme around Athlete A is not just about Larry Nassar, but the policies that the USA Gymnastics allowed for the sexual abuse to happen was within the culture for an immense amount of years. The theme public servants comes into play with all the gymnastics, or the theme about public servants comes into play with all the gymnasts from over the years that began coming out and sharing their sexual abuse stories about Dr. Larry Nassar. The Athlete A film displays how easy it is for large corporations to cover up stories about people due to their reputations. Because Larry Nassar had such a great reputation, especially with the athletes. He was a nice guy, is what all of the athletes that spoke up about him said. He used to sneak the athletes snacks and candy when they were on strict diets by their coaches. He was one of the nicest staff members of the USA Gymnastics community. But when he was working on the gymnasts, he was also sexually abusing them at the same time. Um, Taking a deeper look into gymnastics history, we can see that the athletes uh, began gymnastics at an even earlier age. This allowed the coaches and staff in the industry to have more control over them. Psychological control over every aspect of the athletes' lives is what led to these athletes not feeling like they could speak up about the sexual abuse. The athletes started turning to one another, asking, older athletes if Larry Nassar was doing the same things to them, and all of them were saying that yes, he was. It was kind of just part of his practice. Um, these athletes would try and bring up the sexual abuse to different people of power, and they would get turned down by statements of, well, no one else is saying these things, and you should be careful about saying this to anyone else because of the ramifications that this can cause you and your reputation. So these statements were scaring these athletes away from making more noise about what was going on. I believe that this film did a perfect job demonstrating how these athletes are public servants. They are the ones that spoke up about their sexual abuse, which launched several different investigations on the USA Gymnastics culture. This has also raised awareness of all sports cultures and how the athletes are treated.